Another episode of the CattleUSA Daily Podcast. Today we are welcoming back Dan Gerhold with the CattleUSA insurance team. Today Dan is talking all things markets. What is happening in the world right now? We talk grains, we talk cattle, we're talking kill numbers right now. We talk the hog market even a little bit, and just what is going on in the world that is affecting markets and everything else in between. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this episode with Dan. But before we do, if you could take half a second to go like, subscribe, rate, review, we would really appreciate it here at the team. It helps us continue to grow, reach more people, and just make sure that we are providing content for you guys that is amazing and relevant. So if you could take half a second while we do this intro to go like, subscribe, rate, review, do all of the things, we would really appreciate it here at the team. And let's get into this episode with Dan. Happy Wednesday. How's life in Iowa?
Great. Yeah. It rains all the time. Crops looking good other than the stuff that's going backwards because it's raining every other day. But overall, you don't want to complain about rain in August, so we'll take it.
Precisely. Love to hear it. Well, what is going on in the world of the markets right now? Break it down for me.
Been a fun, I guess, fun couple of weeks. A lot of volatility stepping into everything. Cattle setting new all-time highs one week, looking like they're going to zero the next day, and then turn around and put it back on. It's rinse and repeat over and over again. It's been a ride. Yesterday we had the WSDA report that really rocked corn pretty hard with that big 188 and change yield that the USDA threw with the corn crops. That's going to make some cheap feed here this fall. At this point now it's cheap enough where I think, these feed yards, backgrounders, anybody that has to buy their feed really needs to look hard to get some feed locked in. We're coming up against the calendar here. We might put, a low in this market here late August, sometime in September, pre-harvest low. I think it's worth hedging off some feed risk now that we've built in that big number, and most years we don't achieve a big number like that. So it would be an all-time record high if we do. I know there is a lot of great feed crops out there, but inevitably it takes a mat. It's just unbelievable what it takes to hit that 188. So yeah, I think we should really step in and look at the feed risk side of things here. Cattle, yeah, like I mentioned, Friday we got rocked pretty hard. Feeders were down. Just about all contract months were locked the limit. Went lower on Monday, first thing, and then turned around, ended up right back to where we opened. Not really giving us a clear sign, but nonetheless, we put, fair amount on yesterday, $2, $3, $4, and we're just about back to where we were just last Wednesday. So, a lot of volatility. These options are extremely priced, and something I happened to notice Friday or Monday, stepping all the way out to March or April, a $400 feeder cattle call option worth $2.50. Market has to rally more than $70 to get to that level, and it's still worth that kind of money. I mean, to buy an at the money put, you're going to spend $15, $16. It used to be you'd spend $6 to $8, and now it's doubled. It's just volatility went through the roof, justifiably so when you're talking about these kind of markets. Buckle up is all I can say.
Buckle up indeed. It has been a wild ride, and I don't know where we're at on the scale, but we're that volatility scale just keeps on rising and rising and rising. It's clutch your pearls, guys. Yeah. Clutch your pearls.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting spot here for fat cattle. We know the supplies aren't there to really wreck this market in a big way, but the challenging thing we're experiencing right now is, we've talked about retail and what they have the potential to do. Improving their margins here in August, September is pretty normal for them. Since the last time we talked, I think we put, $10, maybe $12 on wholesale boxes. It was nice to see that rally, but the concerning thing is in order to do that, the Packers had to cut the kills even harder. So, a normal kill used to be 125 to 130. You'd sometimes push up to 135. When they cut that kill down to 100,000 a day, that's a big deal. And if that's the only way they're going to keep choice boxes up, 380, 390, then we've got a problem. That's when you officially know you're dipping into the consumer's pocket a little too far. But that being said, it's still beef. People love buying it. People love eating it. And I was at the grocery store, and it seems like, they pulled back a little bit to try and move some product, and you could get ribeyes $12 to $14 a pound. I think that was kind of a fire sale deal, but nonetheless, it's still more reasonable than the $20, $25 that we saw just 2-3 weeks ago. So, if we can get that to happen, I think the volume starts improving on the amount of meat we're shipping and consumers are buying. So if at the end of the day, it all comes down to volume. The Packers will have to increase the kills if we start moving more volume of meat. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, we're relying on the domestic consumer right now. There's no export market there to save us, not at these prices, and imports are sky high. I don't think your burger demand is going to go anywhere. It's pretty static. It's just a matter of the timing of the year, trying to keep those middles moving so that we can keep the Packers killing these cattle. We don't want to see them at 100,000, 105,000 a day, and inevitably that'll start backing up some cattle. So it could be a rough and rocky August. We'll see what September brings.
Good to know. Yeah, it's one of those situations that we want our Packers speeding up that chain speed and amount that we are processing right now. And unfortunately, it's kind of going the other way. And it's a trickle effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're not going to be aggressive in the cash market and push prices higher if they don't have a reason to, increase the chain speed and be more aggressive. A lot of those guys have 2, 3, 4 weeks of inventory. They got some contracts they can burn up here in August. They're not going to get aggressive. So things could change pretty quick. We get into September. I am looking for a hole in October, November, December on the fat cattle side of things. That potential's still there as long as we don't back any cattle up. So just got to get there. Just waiting for that calendar to turn over.
Yes, just got to push through. Just got to push through. What else is going on? Is there anything else that we need to hit on this week? I know it's kind of one of those times a year where it's like, take what you can get. The grain market kind of sucks right now. Cattle market's holding on. Anything else that we need to touch on?
I mean, hogs are doing, I guess, what I kind of expected. With high beef prices, the court cutout's been holding in there. We're still in August, so that has the potential to turn over here this fall. But overall, with the disease pressure they've had in the hog market, as producers, we shouldn't see this massive glut of hogs coming at us. In fact, I would say, we get through August, September, October, there's another hole opening up in that space just from the amount of disease issues we've seen. So December, it's kind of like trying to row upriver. It's not a wise move, right? Go with the flow. And the normal flow says you're supposed to be hedging fall and wintertime hogs here. I have to look at $83 hogs in December on the board, and I have to ask myself, is it already priced in? And what happens if beef stays high and hogs, the pork cutout stays high as a result? Then 83 might look a little cheap. So I think if a person wants that wintertime coverage, I think they should look at options or LRP. I really don't think we want to be a straight futures hedger just in case, this pork cutout stays at 110. That could really put a rally together by the time we get out to December.
Anything else? Are we closing it out?
I don't want to talk about the screwworm. There's some rumors going around, but let's not ruin a good Wednesday.
Let's not ruin a good day. Last time we talked about screwworm, we were wrong. So let's just let's not until it's confirmed, we're just going to live in ignorant bliss.
Yeah.
That is where I would like to stay. If anyone else has a different opinion, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay in ignorant bliss. I talked about screwworm already this week. I've got my full. I'm good.
I don't blame you. Yep. Buy your LRP insurance and don't even worry if it gets here.
Exactly.
Yep.
We're putting that on a shirt. That's all we have to say, guys. Buy your LRP and then don't worry about it and move on with our lives. And
exactly.
Hooray. Love it. Amazing. Well, Dan, Thank you for your time, as always. To all of our listeners out there, make sure you check out the show notes down below. If you do need to get your LRP and get yourself covered, we have that Cattle USA Insurance link where we partner with Dan and his team to be able to provide that for you guys. If you have any questions or just want to talk to someone about it, talk through all of your options, give that link a click down below, give our team a call, and we'll be able to help you out there. As always, thank you for listening to another episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast. We will see you all tomorrow on another one. Have a good one, y'all.